Hello and good morning everyone, and welcome back to our Kabbalah and Coffee class for today, Sunday. Today is the 19th? The 19th of January, and it is also the 17th day of the month of Shvat. Good morning, and just to say hello to all those who have assembled over here. We will begin all the way immediately to my right where Phyllis is here. Say hello, Phyllis. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we have June
morning.
there,
Good
and Iris, and Mel, Patty, and Richard, and
Morning.
Elise, Robert,
Hello.
and Pat. Pat's moved up in life. Right here. Okay. We are currently on page 31, and we are dealing with some pretty heavy and deep concepts and ideas. We did this last week, but I'm going to repeat on page 30. I'm going to repeat a footnote number 35. Although we did it last week at greater length, we will run through it more today just to review and to get an idea of what the topic is for today. Kalim and Orot is the quote from the context, from the text inside over there. Those two words literally, vessels or instruments, that's kalim, and orot means lights. Vessels and lights. And as we discussed last week, vessels are created to contain the lights. Light is any form of energy, and vessels are the apparatus through which that energy is projected. So the eye, and he's going to use that example here, is the vessel, the keli, or eyes are kalim. Kalim is plural for keli. Kalim would mean vessels. So the eye is a vessel or a keli for the energy called sight. And you need light in order to see something. When you have an object and there's no light, you can't see it. When you have light, all of a sudden the eye can see all the things that are around. So kalim and orot. Kalim are the vessels, orot are the energies that enter into these vessels, and these vessels are able to implement and use this energy. And that's how it works for the cups that you have on the table. The energy is that Joe that's in your cup, and the vessel is the cup, which contains the energy. And then you will take that energy and put it into another vessel called your mouth, your body, also a vessel. So any kind of instrument that is used to project this energy or to receive this energy is called a keli, called a vessel. A vessel can mean anything that contains something. So a table can be a vessel, although it doesn't have a place into which to put something, but onto which to put something. It's also a vessel. It's a vessel to put a plate down and a cup down. So anything that contains something else would be called a vessel, in a borrowed term in this case. Vessel usually has a space within it, inside of it, like a cup or a bowl or something like that. So we have these two terminologies, kalim, meaning vessels, or keli, meaning a vessel, a single vessel, and orot is or. Or is energy, orot is energies. In Hebrew, there are terminologies for male and terminologies for female. And there is a big difference between male and female, as opposed to English, where you can say to a person, you say you. So, Robert, you are here. Elise, you are here. In Hebrew, it's Robert, ata, po, you are here. And to Elise, it's at, po. So there's a difference between ata and at when you say the word you. And so on and so forth. When you address a female, it's addressed differently than you would remember. Somewhat, subtly different. But in English, it doesn't quite make a big distinction between male and female. So, in Hebrew, not just is it when you are addressing males and females, but there are terminologies around the house and around the world that are sometimes use a feminine word and sometimes a masculine word. So the word keli, because it ends with a E, a yud, it is a masculine word. And in order to make it plural, you would add a to it, and that would make it plural. But or, light, or energy is a feminine word, and therefore you would use orot. Ot is how that ends, not im. And that makes it plural. So today we're sitting at a table, which is a shulchan. If I wanted to say plural shulchan, I wouldn't say shulchanim, I would say shulchanot, with ot, which is the feminine way of expressing the plural. But if I have a book on the table, it's a sefer, like a sefer Torah. A book is a sefer. If I want to say plural sefer, I would say sefarim, not sefarot, because sefer is a masculine word. So orot is plural for lights, and kelim is plural for vessels. Keli is the singular, or is the singular. So kelim and orot, literally vessels or instruments, that's what kelim are, and lights are orot. Creation is a composite of orot and kelim. With the way God created this world, He created it with the energies, but He also created it with the apparatus to receive these energies, to hold these energies, to project these energies. So kelim are the vessels in which the orot enter. Orot meaning light or energies enter into these vessels. So that's how creation is, a composite of orot and kelim. Spiritual light is invisible. It becomes perceptible only in conjunction with something that reflects the light, which is the keli, or vessel. Spiritual light is not like physical light, which you can see if you open up your eyes. Spiritual energy is all around us, but we cannot see it with our naked eye. But we can see the vessel that has it, which the vessel is all of us. The vessel is the outside. Everything that's out there, as somebody wrote in the Good Shabbos email of this week, that the vessel is anything that somebody asked me a question that I never realized that food is anything more than something you stuff down your throat to give you some life and some energy. And so I said there's energy in everything. Everything, single thing that is in this world, that exists in this world, has some form of godly energy, or a godly soul, or a godly spark, however way you want to term it. So you can't see the godliness that comes down, that's projected into this world, but you can see the vessel that contains that godliness, and that is everything that's around us, has some form of godly energy. Sometimes you can see energy, which is light, physical light that we have. Like you can see the light of the sun, you can see that. But a lot of forms of energy you can't see. You can't see electricity. You can only see the vessel that carries it. You can only see what electricity makes happen. But you can't see the energy of electricity. You also can't see radio waves or television waves or whatever waves that are being sent. It's energies all over us, all around us. We can't see it. A lot of the stuff we call spiritual because physically we can't see it. You can only create vessels in which to capture this energy. I don't know.
You made it. I just put water.
I'm not. That wasn't an indication to you. Huh?
Oh, yeah,
We have some action here in yesterday morning's class.
It's either rainwater or tea water, huh?
It's not tea water.
Did you have a flood or something?
No, we had an accident.
Oh.
Someone had an accident. That hot tea spilled all over.
Oh.
Thank God we can laugh about it. All right. Thus, lights and vessels are as inseparable as matter and form. Matter and form is a form Matter is the body and the form is the soul. So if you have matter and form, you can't go one without the other and have a person who is alive. In either case, one is inconceivable without the other. Example, the power of vision is light, the eye is the keli, the mind is the light, the brain is the keli, the idea is the light, the words conveying it are the kelim. So the eye or the mind, the brain is a vessel, the intelligence, that's the light, that's the energy. And the eye is the vessel, and the light that comes around us is the energy, and from that we can see everything. If it was totally pitch black in here, as I said last week when we went to that museum of the blind, there was over an hour and there was no adjusting. There was not a single ray of even the smallest light. They forced us to put away the cell phones and everything. And within, even after an hour, we couldn't see a thing. We couldn't see the finger in front of your face because there was zero amount of light. A little bit more sugar and another tea bag in here. This one seems stale. So that's the point. The light and the vessel that contains the light. And it doesn't have to mean light, it's any form of energy. It could be intelligence, it could be radio, it could be light, it can be anything. Okay? The light and the vessel must be compatible. The vessel must be a fit for the contents. No container would contain anything beyond its capacity. So your brain can do very well with intelligence, but it can do terribly with radio waves. There's no way that your brain could contain radio waves because it's not designed to contain that energy. And the radio waves, if you take a radio out to the sun's not going to make you hear anything on the radio. You need to be in a place where there are radio waves. And if they're blocked, then no amount of energy from the sun will help you, because the vessel is geared towards picking up radio waves, not sun. And that's how it works. The vessel has to be compatible with the energy. If the glare of the light is too strong for the eye will be blinded. It will not see anything because it's going to be blinded. It simply will not function. A teacher who wishes to convey an idea, which is light or energy, to a pupil must reduce it to the pupil's mental grasp. Mental grasp is the keli, the vessel. Otherwise, the student will only become confused and definitely will not be able to receive this intelligence. An analogy. A word consists of two or more letters. When the letters join in a proper order into a word, they form a vessel for a concept. So now you have is, the, how, when, tomorrow. All of these words are separate words. And when you put them together, or when you put letters to create the word tomorrow, then you all of a sudden have a vessel with which to convey the intelligence or the energy. If you break up the word into separate letters, the concept vanishes. So I'll have to use the jumble that they have in the newspapers every day, because it's all the words are confused. You don't know what they're saying here. Only after you decipher that jumble, then you can figure out what the words are. And once you figure out the words are, then you can take those round circles and then figure out the end of the puzzle of it. I don't know if you guys do the jumble. I like to do the jumble. Word games are games that I enjoy. So, and I drive myself insane too. I'm usually good at them when there's only one vowel. When there's 3 or 4 vowels, and you get out that to the kama, it's got up and downs, and then I get lost. Oh no.
What?
It's not the same tea bag, so now the whole flavor is messed up. All right.
Get it right.
When you empty a vessel on an object,
It's annoying to me.
what's the message?
She wants a whole new one. Yeah. He needs a whole new one.
It's the wild berry or something. It's too strong for this time of the day. I usually put that in with other flavors in
What
the
flavor
big.
do you want?
The peach, that's all I had, the peach in there. So when you have the different wrong tea in the vessel, then the energy is just messed up. It's all confused.
That's true.
And
upsetting.
No, the flavor was it was a very strong flowery smell.
Oh, I know, I
And
can't either.
sometimes it's good, maybe in the night after you've had a big meal or something, but that's just not. I need something subtle and
The Kaylee's not ready for this.
And
The
soft.
vessel isn't ready for this.
right. The vessel was not ready. Anyway, so words and everything else that we put together, and after we drive ourselves crazy and we figure them out, then we are happy because now we have a vessel in front of us and we have solved the confusion. So the confusion would be in words or in letters or whatever it might be in order to get the energy out, in order to get the intelligence from that. Both the orot and kelim, that means both the energy and the vessel, serve a united purpose and work together to form creation. The inherent purpose of creation is for mankind to serve God. When the service of God is performed, it completes the keli that allows a particular spiritual revelation or light to become revealed in the world. When a person does what they are supposed to do, let's just say they take paper, just plain paper, and print upon it words of Torah. So now we have taken a vessel. The vessel is the paper. We put on it words of Torah. That's the energy. Thank you very much. Now, once we've taken that energy that's available to us, and we have taken it into our minds, we have studied it, we have taken the energy of the Torah and put it into the vessels of our minds, so we've taken the godly intelligence and internalized it, then we have completed God's purpose for this world, which is that mankind serve God. How do you serve God? Oh, in myriad ways, but one of them is to study His Torah. So we have now taken some energy from this world, we have internalized it, and we've used it for the right purposes, which is the spiritual reason to study God's Torah, to understand God's Torah, to perceive God's Torah. That's the purpose of creation, to take what we have in this world, what God allows us to have in this world, and to utilize it for good, for the right reasons, for the right purposes. And again, as somebody wrote in the Good Shabbos email of this week, that we ingest within us, we have to eat. Food that we have to eat is food that contains godliness in it. As long as it's kosher. If it's not kosher, then the godliness that's within it is not for Jewish people to elevate. It cannot be elevated. It's tied down and ties us down to areas where we shouldn't be. For whatever reason, I'm going to get into that now, but the purpose of keeping kosher is also to serve God. That's because we have the ability to elevate. And there's two levels here. First of all, we've got to put the right stuff inside of us. And second of all, we've got to use that stuff for the right reasons. That's how we serve God. Mankind serves God by fulfilling that which mankind is mandated to do. So the Jewish people have 613 commandments, 207 of them which are applicable to these days without the temple. And the rest of the nations of the world have 7 Noahide basic civil laws, some of which were mentioned in the 10 Commandments, which were read yesterday in certain synagogues, not this one yet. Anyway, so the bottom line is, but discussed in the synagogue. The bottom line is, though, our mission in this world is to serve God. That's what our vessel is supposed to do. And the energies that we have around us are supposed to help us get closer to God, or worship God, or serve God. Therefore, the lack of serving God creates a blemish in the kalim, in the vessels, that in turn do not allow the light that would otherwise be revealed in that keli to shine. When a person does not utilize, let's just say a Jewish person, any sugar? Forgive me, please.
How many do you put?
Of sugar?
Yeah.
No, take the one on top.
I did.
Oh,
It's your spoons.
it's fill the spoons up like it's bitter. Because the tea is stronger, that means the water is more bitter. It's got one of those.
That's why it should be put into a teapot.
That's correct. Agreed. That's a good old-fashioned way.
Really? The English way.
The English way, that's how I grew up. Anyway, so let's just say we'll use a universal example. So one of the 7 Noahide laws is don't steal. Okay? Don't steal. A very obvious law and rule that everybody basically must adhere to. And so I walk into a store and I see my favorite donut. And I know that I want that donut and I just don't have, my credit cards are maxed out or they don't accept credit cards. And I'm hungry, and I'm more than hungry. My eyes are talking for me right now. And that sweet chocolate with sprinkles on top of it, oh yeah. And I succumb to my evil tendencies. And while no one is looking, or I think no one is looking, I reach out and I take this donut and I insert it into a pocket of mine or something, or a bag. And I eventually walk out of the store, and I have that donut. It's burning a hole in my bag. Okay? Now I'm going to eat that donut. And I've eaten that donut. I filled myself up for breakfast, drink my coffee, and I don't even think, it's gone, it's in and it's out, and it's gone, and it's out of my mind, and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. I would imagine. I haven't particularly exercised that type of behavior. But I would imagine that after a while, you forget sooner or later, or you think to yourself, you know what, one day when I have an extra couple of bucks, I'll just drop it over there, so I'll pay for it without, I'll pay put the dollar down. All right, good. And so the guilt is out. I paid for it. Good. What has happened here, you can say that the store will never miss it. Robin Hood, I can take $1,000 and feed 500 people. From a millionaire, he will never miss it. He'll make that $1,000 in a minute on Monday morning. But God says don't steal. So we've taken the energy of this world, which is the donut, or the $1,000 that has been stolen, and it now cannot be elevated. It cannot be utilized for good, because Robin Hood fed 500 people with stolen money. Stolen money means that money cannot be elevated. It's not going to be used for good causes. If it's not used for good causes, no matter what he does with it, it won't work, because the energy has been misled, it's misguided. It's like taking a radio and trying to make it work with sun waves instead of radio waves. It can't work, because God dictated how this world works. He projects energy into this world, and the energy can be in the form of a donut, it can be in the form of money, it can be in the form of light, it can be in many ways. And we are supposed to take that and use it for the right reasons. If it's caught in the wrong place, then it's like trying to start a radio without radio waves, without electricity. Trying to start the coffee maker without when the fuse is blown. It's not going to work, because there's no energy that you can. But what do you mean? I've done everything. I pressed every button. Yeah, but there's no energy flowing in, or the energy is going to the wrong places, and therefore it doesn't work. Similarly, when a person steals something, despite the fact that the energy is in his hands, that energy is now wrong, it's off, it's misguided, it's misled. And so when someone says, I ate a very big meal of shrimp, when a Jew says that, I ate a very big meal, now I'm going to daven, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to take the energy that the shrimp gave me, and I'm going to elevate it to God, we can't do that. A Gentile, a non-Jew, yeah, they can do that. They are not forbidden to eat shrimp. But the Torah forbids a Jew to eat shrimp. So no matter what we daven and learn and do good deeds with that energy ain't going anywhere. And in this case, the shrimp loses out. Because the shrimp has an opportunity to be elevated by a non-Jew, or a piece of ham, or whatever it might be, by the non-Jew in this world. And by the Jew taking it, it's now unable to be elevated. It now just becomes a part of our flesh and blood, but it doesn't become part of our spiritual makeup. That's a hole in the vessels. We have taken a vessel that we could have used for good things, and now it's not going to be used for the positive energies will not be able to flow. In the Jewish terminology, the word forbidden is asur. The word asur means forbidden, mutar is permissible. The word asur and mutar, those two words, forbidden and permissible, are also used in context of being tied down and being untied. Asur means to be tied. When you, the prison is called Beit HaAsurim, the house of those who are tied, asur. And when you are let out, when you're untied, it's mutar. And so in Hasidic teaching, in the book of Tanya, it says that the reason why those two terminologies are used for forbidden and permissible is because anything that's forbidden is tied down by forces that are not spiritual. That may be spiritual, but they're not godly spiritual. They are the other side of things. And anything that's permissible is untied, is now allowed to be used. So whatever we eat, and whatever we ingest, or whatever we work with, we must, or whatever, if we steal or anything, if we do anything that is wrong according to the Torah, then whatever spiritual energy is there is not going anywhere. It's just, in fact, it ties us down as well to the spiritual side of it, of us, which is not a good side, the other side. This is perfect.
Thank goodness.
You have tuna, not lox. All right. So let's read again the second half of this paragraph. Therefore, the lack of serving God creates a blemish in the kalim, in the vessels, that in turn do not allow the light that would otherwise be revealed in that keli to shine. So that ham or that shrimp doesn't allow it to that keli, that vessel cannot shine now. The lack of divine service thus affects both the function and purpose of the kalim, of the vessels, and the orot and the energies, preventing them from being revealed in this world. So no matter what we do with stolen money, with stolen goods, we can't do anything positive. Even if we think and it looks like it's positive, the energy that is coming from that is not going to a positive place. How do you know? Well, we don't know how energy works. We are told how energy works. And the Torah tells us how it works. And if the Torah tells us it has to work this way, so by doing it in the wrong way, we cannot do the same thing. We just can't. So if you put your plug, and the plug is from a different voltage, then you're not going to get any electrical light. But what do you mean? I put it in the plug. I put it in the outlet. I put the plug in. I plugged it in. No, that doesn't work that way. Or if your plug for your bathtub is too big or too small, it's very nice. It could be a good plug, but it won't work in your bathtub. It's just the water will not be retained, and the energy will leave. However, levels of godliness that transcend orot and kelim. This is the regular way of working. So any keli is any animal, any plant, anything that's out there. But the level that transcends all of that, the energy and the vessels that contain that energy, do not need a purpose to be served in order to exist. That means it's not for us to use them necessarily. We don't see them here. What we see around us is the basic build of life. So we see the grasses and we see the plants and we see the animals and we see the birds and the insects and the spiders and the wasps and the people and so on. That's what we see. That's orot and kelim. And for us to reveal that energy, and so that the keli will shine, as well as the or, as well as the energy, will all shine. But if it transcends this business of orot and kelim, then it's out there. It's not really dependent on us. The existence of that godliness is not for something else. Rather, it exists on its own, for itself, and therefore is not affected by human service of God or lack thereof. It's out there, it's there. It's not given to us necessarily, it's just projected out there. That's orot and kelim. That's the terminology that is used for light and vessel. Now, we'll do 36 as well, and then we'll go back to the text. Footnote number 36. Light. Light is used as a favorite metaphor in Kabbalah and Chassidut to represent and describe the various manifestations, emanations, and forces of godliness. Whatever energy comes out of God, the favorite metaphor is light. It is often used in contradistinction. Thank you. Could have said in contrast to what is called atzmut, or the essence of God. The essence of God is not a light. It is the source of light. The sun is not a light. The sun is the source of all light. The sun itself, though, is not a light. It is a fire, it is energy, it is whatever, but it's not light. Anything that you see coming out of the sun is coming out of the sun. It is being projected by the sun. The sun itself, though, is a source, not a light. God is a source, not a light. And because a light is by definition, is a projection. Light means something coming out of something, but it comes out of a source. The source, though, is not the light. The source is the source of the light. So when you talk about atzmus, atzmus is the essence of God. Not the light of God, not the projection of God, not the manifestation of God, but the essence of God. God as is God, just Him, or her, or it. There is no him or her. We just use the term him because that's the term that is used, but there is no male or female, it's all the same there. Of all physical phenomena, light is that which most closely approximates that which is spiritual, exhibiting as it does freedom from the limitations of matter. Light is the best way to describe the godliness because light is free of anything else. It's a very clear projection of light, brightness. For example, light is not corporeal. Corporeal means it's not tangible. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. It delights the soul. When you have light, you feel good about things. That's why in the restaurants they turn the lights down, so you shouldn't feel that much delight, which is ridiculous. Huh?
It's silly.
You should feel more delight in the food, not
I was
light.
just studying the Talmud yesterday, and it said that the blind person never feels satisfied. If you can't see what you eat, you can't really get satisfied. So the restaurants want you to order more and more and more. You should be satisfied until you. It's all a
You
trick.
still see the food, it's just not.
It's not right. That's all. It needs to be light. It needs to be bright. Romance is light more candles, but make it light. Turn on a fire and light more candles, not less, not dark. All right, so light is not corporeal, and it delights the soul. It enables one to see, which is very, very important. One of the most, if not the most important function of our physical bodies. So light is the best way to talk about God. It is also analogous to the nature of divine emanations. That means what comes out of God, insofar as light is never separated from its source. That energy has to constantly be connected to its source, and so does radio, by the way, but at least the light we can see that there is a source we can see from it. And it spreads itself instantaneously. That means as soon as the light is turned on, boom, it's light in the room. So it happens instantly. And it irradiates all physical objects. That means it lights up all physical objects. Does not mix and mingle with any other substance. Never per se changes. Is essential to life in general. And is received and absorbed relative to the capacity of the recipient. And so on, and the like. In other words, light is the best metaphor for godliness because it does all of those things, and therefore we use the term light just because it's the best metaphor for us to understand about light, about God. Okay. We will now go back to page 30 into the text. You're on the same page. Now, let's set this scene now of where we are. The verse in this week's Torah portion. We're now in the week that this discourse is talking about. The Torah portion this week talks a lot about civil law after the Torah was given. The Torah was given to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. The Ten Commandments were expressed by God. Moses goes up, comes down, breaks the tablets, goes back up, begs for forgiveness for 40 days, comes back down, then goes back up again with a set of tablets, and he's up there for another 40 days. God inscribes the tablets, the Ten Commandments onto the tablets. And now Moses has come down with the tablets. Now he has to teach Torah. The laws have now been taught to him in those times that he was up there in heaven, as we discussed in a previous Kabbalah Coffee. So here comes Moses, and he's got to teach a bunch of laws. The first thing he teaches is civil laws. So it teaches, which is in this week's Torah, or half of this week's Torah portion is civil law. What happens if you give somebody something to look after and they break it? What if you paid them? It's a different law. What if they borrowed it from you? That's even a different law. What if they hired it, rented it from you? Different law. What if I opened up a hole in the street and I walked by and I fell in, or I slipped on it? What if my animal slipped in it? What if my animal caused damage to someone else? What if I lit a fire? Like these losers, hooligans in California, playing games at a fire, and it caused damage. What's the law? These are laws that are discussed in this week's Torah portion, among many. Laws of servants are in this week's portion, and so on. Civil law. About halfway through it, it turns to godly laws. Laws between man and God. So there are 3 pilgrimage festivals that are discussed for the first time in this week's Torah portion, and the observance of Shabbos is repeated in this week's Torah portion. Things that Jewish people are to do, not between man and man, which is the first half of the portion, but between man and God. 53 of the 613 commandments are in this week's portion. It's stuffed with a lot of commandments. Towards the end of this narrative, God says, I'm going to take you to Israel, to the Holy Land. Yes, all of the Holy Land belongs to the Jewish people. It's one of the first things that are told to the Jewish people after Sinai. That from here, you're heading west, out of the desert into the Holy Land. That's the land I give you. No Kerry or anyone else has any right to say anything, even a Jewish person, because the Torah is very clear about that the land belongs to the Jewish people. Always. And there's no messing around with that. There's no question about that. There's no doubt in any part of the Torah. It's very, very clear. When you get to the land, said God, I want you to come to see me 3 times a year. I want you to offer this to me. I want you not to forget to give the tithes and to give tzedakah. All these kind of things are involved here. And then he says, and you will avoda, you will serve, worship, you will work to serve God. And he in turn promises the Jewish people to bless your bread, that means your sustenance. There will be no more, and I will remove sickness from within you, that means everybody will have good health, and there will be no barren women in the land. That means everybody will have children, everybody will have the health for their children, for themselves, and they'll be blessed with sustenance. Those are the 3 blessings you can't ask for more. You have health, you have sustenance, and your children have a good family. That's what life is. But there seems to be a condition here, and that is you must serve God in order to get the prime blessing for all of that. And that is the focus of this discourse, of this essay, which is the serving of God. And what does serving God do? And it uses the term like a servant. That means it doesn't work. And that God needs, when you have a servant, or you hire a service to come to clean your yard or to clean your house, that means you need something from them. And they fulfill that which you need. They're doing that which you need. What are we doing? What does God need that we have to provide to Him? And that the Torah uses the term, and you have to work, toil, labor. So that's what he started to discuss. That idea, that concept of what we do with our service, our toil, our worship to God. What do we do? So, and obviously what we do has to affect not just God, but it affects the highest levels of godliness, because the way God works is that He's completely, the essence of God, there's no projection, there's no energy, it's God. But if that level of God created a whole world in order for that world to worship, to toil and labor for Him, then obviously He's needing something. And then what we do is, on the one hand, doesn't affect God. On the other hand, at some level, He wants us to do this. He needs us to do this. He needs something from us. So let's see. The explanation of how avoda means the work, the worship, the toil, can affect the higher realms begins from Chokhmah. Chokhmah is the highest human term. Chokhmah means wisdom. So how can that do what it needs to do? And it begins from that level of wisdom. Is that avoda, or work, is applicable in Seder Hishtalshalut to both Kalim and Arot. The work is important to the regular system, which is of Kalim, vessels, and Arot, energies. Remember now, everything out here is a vessel, and everything that makes the thing work is the energy. So the life of the grass is the energy, and the grass is the keli, is the vessel which projects that energy. Or the stone is the vessel, and somewhere inside of that stone, the minerals in the stone, or the earth in the stone, or whatever you're going to use that stone, that is the energy within the stone. That's how this world works. A vessel and energy, which is contained in the vessel. So the highest level, the highest vessel in that sense, would be the vessel of wisdom, which is the highest level within the person, and therefore the highest level of projection of godliness in each world that it may be found. This wisdom is the beginning of everything, the highest level within a person. So is Chokhmah, is wisdom. So the explanation is that what we do is applicable to the regular manifestation of energy and vessel. Let's see here. The idea of Kalim, vessel, is that they conceal the light. They conceal the energy, allowing the existence of another entity. The entity is the vessel. The energy now can come into the vessel and can create a new entity of that vessel. For when light shines, only the source of light is present. For when light shines, only the source of the light is present, leaving no room for another entity. When you see light out there, it's just light. Nothing happens from the light unless it reaches somewhere, unless it does something, unless it helps the plants to grow or the people to see. Without the vessel, the light is just shining. By contrast, Kalim, the vessels, are the concealment of light. The light goes into them, and at least momentarily, it's hiding the light. So the water, the hot water and the tea went into this vessel. Now you can't see it because the vessel is covering it. It's closed around it. So the vessel conceals what's in it. But without the vessel, you can't use the light. You can't benefit from the light. You can't benefit from the energy. Again, by contrast, kalim are the concealment of light, but that allow for the existence of another, to the extent that after much hishtalshalut, creations that are distinct entities are actually created from them. So, when you have a vessel, and you put into that vessel light, you have now created a cup of tea. Without this cup, the tea wouldn't be a tea. It would just go away. We'd be no way to hold it. We'd be no way to keep it. So yes, it does conceal. It hides the tea from everyone else, but at the same time, it creates a cup of tea. L'chaim. And the same thing with every kind of vessel. Whatever type of vessel is out there. Let's say you have a tree. So a tree is a vessel, and that vessel comes energy, and that from that energy comes fruits, and comes branches, and comes leaves, and then shade, and whatever it provides is what the tree is. So the tree conceals the energy. It hides the energy. You don't see the energy. All you see is the projection from the tree. But that's what creates the tree. Without the tree, the energy would just go there. If you didn't plant the seed for the tree, then the energy wouldn't be anywhere. It wouldn't be a tree. So the concealment is what creates it. The fact that it takes the energy and it hides the energy, it makes now a tree.
Maybe channels it better.
Okay, channels it. So the energy is now taken and used, and now you can see not the energy, but you see the tree that conceals the energy. But the fact that the tree is a tree indicates that there has to be an energy to create that tree. It didn't happen by itself. That's the point that he's making. So when the godliness enters into these worlds, and it goes into wisdom, the wisdom level, then it goes into the understanding level, then it goes into the other levels. Each level takes this energy and conceals it. But at the same time, it's creating other entities by doing that. In other words, the vessel is shaped in which to receive this energy. Once it leaves this vessel, it goes and makes another vessel, and that other vessel creates another vessel until you get down the chain, until you get projected down to this world, and then you have vessels like stones, and vessels like plants, and vessels like animals, and vessels like humans. And it's all coming from that energy projected to this world, and based on the different vessels, that's how it works. And then it goes the other way. When plants take the minerals from the earth, they are able to grow. So now they have taken earth and projected earth into the orange, or the grapefruit, or the rose. It's the earth that's keeping it going. And so when a bee comes along and takes some of the nectar, it's taking some of the earth that was projected into the flower, and it's creating honey out of it. And now the bee can eat, and the human being can eat. What are we eating? Well, we're eating some of the nectar, we're eating some of the earth, we're eating this energy that was created from a combination of a whole bunch of different things. So it's created energy. And now we take that energy and we elevate it. So now we've elevated the bee, we've elevated the earth, we've elevated the nectar. Like it all works back and forth with the energy. It gives and takes and keeps on going. So vessels create the ability to utilize this energy in the right way. Although the vessel conceals it, the vessel hides this energy. At the same time, the fact that it's hidden allows the next product to come. So the fact that the earth is hidden in the plant allows the plant to be a plant. And that allows a bee to find food. And that allows people to eat honey. And vice versa. It keeps on giving, you see. Just from that energy that keeps on continuing. Since the idea of kalim Since the idea of kalim, the idea of vessels, is the presence of another, that means it allows others to continue going, as we mentioned before, the earth to the plant, to the bee, to the animal, to the human, and back and forth. So since these energies allow, these vessels allow the energy to come out now, to create other energies, and in the end, after much hishtalshalut means chain reaction, after many chains, distinct creations are actually created by way of them. In other words, thanks to these vessels that continue to project the energy in their way and therefore allow others to continue. The service of created beings can have influence at the level of kalim, which means, this means that when avodah is lacking, it causes a defect in the kalim. Since we have the ability to take all of this energy and to use it for the right reasons, that means that we have the ability to continue to project this energy. When we don't use that energy properly, we ruin the vessel that created this energy, that made this energy project. So if I took the honey and I ate honey, or I mixed it with a piece of cake, or I mixed it into my drink, and then I was energized, and I went out and I stole with that energy, I have now taken the mineral, the earth, and the plant, and the bee, and the nectar, and the honey, and everything else, and I've dumped it. I've defected. I've used it in the wrong way. I've caused a defect in the vessel. We have that ability. Just like we have the ability to create, we also have the ability to destroy. That's how this world works. So when God gives us the ability to serve Him by using the world, not just that, God gives us the necessity to use this world, without which we could not survive. By doing that, we have the ability to elevate and to continue the energy in this world and use the kalim, use the vessels for the right reasons. We also have the ability not to use them. We have a choice, not to use them for the wrong reasons. And then we've caused a defect in these vessels because the energy now has stopped. It's not going up. It's not going where it needs to go.
So the same would be like if a woman is a vessel and is having a baby, and if that baby does something, or becomes an adult and makes bad choices, it affects the mom.
You know, in the Ten Commandments, it says that God will punish up to the fourth generation. In the same Torah that says that, also says that father will never die for the child, and the child doesn't die for the father, or a parent in this case. In other words, you don't blame the parent for bad choices that the child made. So what is it? The Ten Commandments says that God punishes till the fourth generation, and elsewhere in the Torah it says that the child does not bear the parent's sin, and vice versa. The parent doesn't bear the child's sin. And the answer is that when the Ten Commandments say up to the fourth generation, it is when the child grows to be an adult and should know better, or does know better, that still says, well, my father did it, my parents did it, therefore I won't do it, or I will do it, then the punishment continues to the next generation. Then then one can expect that the offspring also suffer the same way as the parent does. In other words, if parents make bad choices and they educate their children to go in a bad way, and the children do that, and then they go in a bad way, and they make the choice to continue in a bad way because of what their parents did, then the parents will suffer from that as well, because they're just like their bad energy, bad karma continues on, and it usually will end by the fourth generation. That's about as far as we can go. Usually our great-grandchildren, that's about as far as it goes. So yeah, it could be that the whole family will suffer because of the bad choices. However, if a child grows up in a regular household and the child is taught and educated and led and guided in the right way, and then the child goes off to college, as we discussed yesterday, and learns every single bad habit and every single stupid choice and foolish choice and bad, evil choices from others, because now it's out of in the house, or from friends, or nobody knows, nobody is evil because they suddenly woke up one day and decided to be evil. They are taught to be evil. They are taught to hate. They are taught to have these feelings. And they are channeled towards a bad way. In that case, the parent should not be suffering for the child because the parent did whatever it can. At the same time, though, having said that, every parent suffers from every bad choice their child makes because it's a bad choice and they just get, there's nothing they can do. They feel terrible. It's a suffering. And so when you hear that the bomber from Boston, that 19-year-old killed a couple of people, their parents should be devastated from this, and they can't even open up their face. They can't show their faces, so they're so embarrassed. This is not my child. I didn't teach him this, and I, sometimes parents try to stop their children. I don't want to get into this now because education is very tricky, and you have to be on top of the things all the time, and you have to see how things are going, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes two parents. I mean, I can get into the whole thing here. But the bottom line is that choices that children make do affect their parents, but not in a punishment way. The punishment is to see how bad things are with their child, because every parent worth being a parent cares about their children to the core of their soul. And when they make bad choices, even if they make not bad choices, poor choices, or calamity happens, something bad happens, devastation happens, a parent suffers along with their children. That's one thing I said when Mussy was born, that Sunday morning. I said, my life will never, ever be this. As long as I live, as long as we live, we will never be the same as we were before she came into this world. Because no matter what, this is your child. The child, if it lives, and the child, if it lives well, or if the child doesn't live well, or doesn't live at all, it's still going to affect us for the rest of our lives. Our lives are different, have changed forever. It'll never be the same. So, a parent does make a very big difference in the life of a child. I was talking to a parent last night. This parent has two sons. One is 25 and one is 23. In Hasidic circles, that means that the 25-year-old is old and the 23-year-old is ready for marriage, that is. The 25-year-old has passed the threshold. He is old and he is behind. He should have been married already, married with kids. So I spoke to this parent who's a very, very, very dear friend of mine. Doesn't live around here, doesn't live in this country either. But I grew up with him, and we are really close friends. And I thought I had something for his older son. I thought I had someone for his older son. Something. No, it wasn't a thing. And he said that he read the write-up that was written about. He read the write-up that was written about this girl, and he said that fits perfectly to my younger son, not to my older son. So I said, okay, so what's the issue here? He said, my older son is running around. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, he's in business, and he's a little. He says, let me read the profile back to you of this girl. She is gentle, she is soft, and she is kind, loving to everyone. And she was looking for someone who is equally good. And I'm sorry, but that's just not my older son. That's my younger. I don't know where you got the older son profile from, but it's not him. I said, what is he? He said, well, he's aggressive and he's loud and he can't be settled down and he's running around and he hasn't gone out with someone and he tells me I don't, unless you get me the right perfect girl, I'm not interested in that. So he's on the wild side. And this parent is quite upset about this. He is suffering not only is the parent suffering, but the youngest son, it's a little bit of, I don't like to use the word taboo, but it's because the word taboo is idol, word for idols. If you look it up in the dictionary. But it is, when the youngest son goes before the oldest son, it's a little bit of an embarrassment to the oldest son. So the younger son is now being suppressed by the fact that the oldest son is still an eligible bachelor and is not doing anything about it, is running around wild. And the parent is grieving over this. He's just, so he says, I've got to call up my son and tell him, sit him down and listen, you got to, right, he's 25 years old, he's trying to get his business going, he's living in a different country, the son, and you're going to tell him now what to do? You're not going to tell him what to do when you're 25, it's just not going to work. You can push and you can cajole and you can beg and you can borrow and you can steal, but the child will have to be, so the parent is suffering from this on all levels, because he wants his son to be married and to settle down. He wants a second son now to also, and the second son is getting antsy, because he's at the right age. So this is the dilemma, the confusion, and the suffering. This is not a bad suffering, it's just going through the issues here to get them married off. That's the point, get them married off. Once they get settled down, they have a wife, they have kids, they learn to be more responsible, and they become a productive citizen in this world. If not, then this kid is a religious kid. It's not like he's not doing drugs and not partying every night. That's not what he's doing. But he's just not focused on what life is supposed to give you in the way we are, which is find a wife and set up a home. Get yourself settled down. That's what a parent always has this shot to. Your life is never the same. And then when your child is married, and so you don't communicate that often, but still there's always an issue. Dad, can I borrow $10,000? Or can we stay in your house for 6 months? And it's always one way. You're always giving. And then when you're about 95 years old and you need their help, they're not around because they're busy with their own children or their own business. And that's how life goes. It is what we invest. That's how the bottom line is. What we put in, hopefully, will come back to us. So that vessel and that energy is a little different. The way children and parents work is a little different. So parents do have a very big say and make a very big difference in the life of their child and the way they lead their lives and the examples that they teach, in the words that they say, and in the behaviors in which they engage. And it might not project itself in the music that we listen to, or perhaps the foods that we eat, but it does project itself in the more important things in life. So if children take after their parents in a negative way, then the negativity continues on. That's not a good thing. But when hopefully parents project themselves in the positive ways, and their children learn positive, and they become positive people, prime examples settle down in this world. That's that energy and that vessel that never ends.
I think he answered it, but it was about, especially as a woman, as a vessel, and having children.
Having children. A woman producing children is a vessel producing energy,
Right.
or another vessel.
Another vessel.
That's exactly how it works. And that child has taken everything from its parents. It's created by its parents. Whatever it has from its parents forever. And that includes not just the physical makeup, but also tendencies and characteristics, intelligences, and so on. I wish children would, I wish we would be more aware of that when we deal with our own parents and when our children deal with us as well. That's it for today.